Rock is a truncated version of rock steady. Come from back in the day when we were young. I'm 43. You know, I was young with the breakdancing thing, so everybody got a name, and you know, mine just happened to come out rock steady.
My name is Freddie Villarreal.
Tracy Harrell.
My name is Aaron the Barber.
Miguel the Barber.
Well, my name is Jason West, and I'm the owner of Show and Tell Custom Barbershop, and we've been in business since 2004. People always ask me where you from, and if I know they're looking for really real roots, I say I'm from Indianapolis. My mother had 2 boys, and her and my father divorced a couple years after I was born. My father moved back to Mississippi. He remarried, and I have a brother and a sister through him. My mom was a single parent mother, and then she took care of me and my brother and raised us. And she did whatever she had to do as far as working hard every day and making ends meet. Actually, my mom was a cosmetologist. She actually had a beauty shop, a full beauty shop in the basement at the house we lived in Indianapolis, and she had a license for that. My mom's sister was already living here in Texas, and her husband had a barbershop in Texas. If any of y'all from Garland probably know, it was a very popular barbershop back in those days, Stark's Barbershop. My uncle Wallace Starks, he's my mama's sister's husband, and may he rest in peace. He died about 4 years ago, I believe. Miss him dearly. And he had just added a beauty shop section onto his barbershop, and he knew that my mom had a license, so he knew that she was doing that, and he just felt like, you know, it added value to what he was trying to do, if she would come down, actually open it, manage it, and run it. My brother went off to the military, went to the Navy, and my mom decided to move to Texas in 1988, about 2 months before my 14th birthday. My mom and I packed up, me, her, and our little pit bull. We drove on to Texas, and so I've been in Texas ever since. I consider myself a Texan now because I have more years here than I had in Indianapolis. By the time I got in 11th grade, I kind of lost interest in school. Not that I was ever interested in the first place, but my grades started dropping and I got into a little trouble. So my mom wanted to send me off to the Job Corps. She was saying, you ain't doing nothing in school. You might as well just go on down and get your GED. I'm like, all right, cool. So when my uncle, the one with the barbershop, he came to my mom when he found out she was going to send me off to the Job Corps. He said, well, why don't you send the boy to the barber college over there? He said, because he's always around the shop anyway. From age 13 on up, I would always hang around the barbershop in my free time and sweep up and run the cash register because he sold snacks and candies. I used to watch them cut hair. I practically almost knew how to fade, actually knew the steps. I used to grab my mom clippers every once in a while and play with my head in the mirror at home, but it never crossed my mind to actually go to barber school. So I said, okay, I'll try it out. In January 1992, when I was 17 years old, I enrolled in Grounds Barber College. That's how I got started in the barber industry. I went to barber school in January 1992, and 5 months later, that was interrupted. I actually went to prison. I was arrested for attempted murder. I had gotten into some stuff with some guys in the neighborhood, and there was a fight, and it was on a Friday after I got home from barber school, actually. A couple weeks prior to that, I had gotten into some guys at the basketball court. One thing led to another, and for any of you that's seen stuff like that from the neighborhood, unfortunately, how something that lead to an argument on the basketball court to a fist fight, from a fist fight to someone saying next time ain't gonna be no fighting. And at age 17, 3 months before my 18th birthday, I'm getting arrested for attempted murder. Unfortunately, the next morning, about 10 o'clock, the detective come to my cell and told me that my charge has been changed to murder because the victim made it through surgery, but it did not make it. He later died that morning. I was facing a murder charge. In my mind, it was self-defense, but I had to prove that in court. They said based on the law, I have to prove that he had a weapon. Ultimately, I went to prison for a lesser charge, which was voluntary manslaughter. It was a plea bargain. You know, that's kind of how that went. One of the misnomers people have about prison is that they believe it's like jail. You just go sit down and get 3 hots in a cot. You work for them hots and you work for them cot. You go to work, but when you're not at work, there's really nothing else to do. You know, my first 3 years there, I was in the field force. A lot of guys go to school down there just to get out the fields. They go enroll into the GD, trade, whatever, just so they won't have to go out there and work in the fields. And I say working the fields is hard work. And if anybody can go down there and work in them fields, they can come out here. They can work 2-3 jobs down here if they can work in them fields 5 days a week. Interesting. And there's nothing else really to do down there other than go play basketball, lift weights. You can go to the library if you want to, or you can go down to church. A lot of times you grow up in a religion, you really don't know the details and study for yourself. I just knew the main talking points that I heard in church. That Jesus died for your sins, but if you don't keep the 10 Commandments, you don't act right, you're going to go to hell. That's all I knew. When the Muslim brothers came to me and told me, hey man, you know, you might want Islam. I said, for what? I got Christianity. There's errors in the Bible, and that religion is not the true religion. Islam's the true religion. I'm like, how so? You know, so they'll go in there and debate with you, show you stuff in the Bible that you really don't understand. It don't make sense to you because the way they present it, they have a good point. So if you're not grounded, it makes sense. You know, and these guys look pretty interesting. So let me go check out this stuff, see what they're talking about. So they'll show you some stuff that makes sense, you know, for the most part. So eventually I became a Muslim. So I was a practicing Muslim for about 4 or 5 years of my prison stay. And then my first 2 years back out here in the free world society, I just kind of slacked off from going to the mosque. Well, I slacked off because I started noticing the more I studied, the more questions I had that wasn't getting answered. Just like I didn't know Christianity that well at the time, I didn't know Islam that well until I really kept digging and kept digging. It talked a lot more about Jesus than the Muslim brothers told you in the beginning. They told you that the Quran talks about Jesus, that Jesus is the prophet. But some of the things it said about Jesus that supports what the Bible said about Jesus, you really didn't hear much. I was introduced to Homer Hudson. He's a pastor. So I went to his church and boom, I was very interested in his message. He would teach Christianity and straight from the Bible, but he gives a lot more clarity and depth. Through his ministry, my studies led me back, picking Christianity back up and embracing it once again and becoming one with Christ again. Rock is like a brother to me. If you don't know us, know all our background, most people think we are brothers. They think we're blood brothers. Because if he's talking about me and I'm not around, he say my brother. If I'm talking about him, he's not around, I'll say my brother. So when the person sees him, oh, y'all talk to your brother, you know. Rock and I met in prison. Rock will tell he'll get a chance to tell his own story.
We were both basically kids in prison. I started hanging out, drinking, doing whatever little petty little crime, just trying to find myself in the street, in my neighborhood, involved myself with a lot of the wrong guys, and it basically came down to not wanting to say no. It led me into a situation that I would normally have been in. There was a robbery. I knew about the robbery, and there was a murder, which I didn't know anything about. But in the state of Texas, they have what they call the law of parties. That means that if you were involved in a crime and it leads to another crime, and you don't do anything to report it or interfere, then you're just as guilty as the person who committed the last crime. And in doing that, I got charged with murder and aggravated robbery and was sentenced to TDC for 25-year consecutive sentence. I wound up doing 20 years and 13 days. Sometimes when you reach a standstill in your life and things just aren't going the way you think they should go, you start reaching for stuff to give you answers. And most people in that position, at a low place in their life, they seek God. Now, a lot of the times in prison, young black males gravitate towards Islam.
We would go to Muslim service together. There's a lot of characters in prison, so you know, you pick who you associate with and you pick who you stay away from. And Rock was just one of the characters that I liked his mind. I like how he think, I like how he carry himself, and we had a lot of stuff in common.
When you meet somebody and you have a conversation with them and you know that they're being upfront, straightforward.
You don't run too many people that's genuine.
No shade, just being genuine.
Where you can sense the loyalty in the person.
And I think that's what we saw in each other, and we recognized that. And you know, the more we talked, the more we felt like we were on the same page, same vibe. As the years went by, we got closer and closer. You know, we became brothers.
We first became Muslim brothers, but then we actually became just brothers besides anything else.
In every aspect, I was there to support him, and he was there to support me.
And when Rock told me that he lost his mom and his brother while he was in prison, that kind of made me feel like, yeah, man, this brother needs somebody in his corner. He needs some support, and he's a good person. People like this need all the support they can get so they can remain stable.
Not just backing me when trouble came, but encouraging me towards doing right, doing what it took to get out of prison and to stay out of prison.
I told my mom and my family and my aunt, I told them I want y'all to meet him, so I want y'all to come visit him one day. A couple of my aunts and my mom, and my daughter was little back then. We even got pictures of Rock holding my daughter in his arms, and my aunt and my cousin standing right beside him in prison way back then. And my daughter, she'd be 25 this year, but back then she was like 1 or 2 maybe. Rock's holding her in his arms. After the first time they came and visited him, they fell in love with him, and he was family ever since. When I came right back home in 2000, it's hard to get a job when you got that type of background. I went to work at different odd jobs and stuff, whatever I could find, because I got turned away from a lot of jobs just because of the criminal background. And then one day I just got tired of all that. That's when I was going to Barber College. I went to school from 6 to 10 at night. So when I got all my hours and I passed my test and got my license, and I went full time as a barber at my uncle's barbershop.
I came into barbering out of necessity. Well, I just gotten out of prison, and I was in Houston for 3 months. And my brother Jason, he'd already asked me, told me, like, when you get out, you can just come straight to Dallas, man, and we'll take you from there. I'll show you the ropes, help you get things in order, because I've been through the same thing, so I know the necessary steps to take without a bunch of unnecessary influences.
At the time when Rock moved in, I was with my first wife, and she was gracious enough to let him come because he and her had already built a relationship. She and I had already been down to prison to visit Rock. See, because I got out way before Rock, so the idea of Rock coming to move with us, it was no problem.
So they were like, you think you can learn how to cut hair? I'm like, I think I can learn how to do anything if it's just about who's patient enough to teach me. I'm like, yeah, I could try it, and it worked out. It was like a year. I applied myself. Jason showed me the basics, and as we went along, as school went along, I started learning more, and I started getting the hang of the concepts.
So he stayed with us for about a year and a half. Got his own apartment, which was also a challenge. It was a challenge for both of us. When I got my first apartment, somebody gave me a break. Finally found somebody to give him a break. Keep knocking on doors till doors open. Since I did go to barber school for 5 months before I went to prison, so I knew what I wanted to do. So when I was in prison, I would always draw pictures of my barbershop. So after working at my uncle's shop for about 3 years, I decided it was time for me to get my own shop. Some things just push you to move smoother sometimes, or sometimes opportunities come up.
Getting the opportunity to become a barber and then having the opportunity to work at this shop in particular, it was great, man. It was life-changing.
How did you meet Jason? Through his mom. I worked with her 20 years ago.
I've been working here for about 7 years. I started when I was 20 and I'm now 27.
I actually approached him. I was looking for a place to go, and I came to his shop, and I've been here 10 years. Love it. Love the people.
Man, when I was going to Barber College, I would actually come up here and watch them cut. I'm learning a lot from everybody. It's just pretty cool, like, knowing that I came here when I was in Barber College, now I'm actually working here.
Working for Jason? Jason's been a great help. He helped mold my career in this industry and allowed me to become the barber I am today.
Jason West has taught every one of his barbers how to manage their own personal finances. If they want to own their own shop, he's teaching that. He's taught me that. That's why he allowed me to be the manager over this shop.
Rock takes care of the garden location for me. I was able to leave it in his hands. I don't have to worry about it. What I do as show and tell cuts is I try to uphold a standard. Some customers choose certain barbers because they like the specifically way they cut their hair, or because they just like the character of that barber. Sometimes it's not just the haircut, the skills, it's the character, or it's the conversation they get when they're with that barber. But I definitely create a family atmosphere at show and tell cuts. The industry has shown me a lot of love. I've been blessed now with 2 locations. The first location has been open for going on 13 years now, and this location, the Rowlett location, has been open for a little over 2 years now. I know some of you are probably wondering how I have a daughter that'll be 25 in September when I was in prison for 8 years. My daughter's mom was actually pregnant before I went to prison in May of 1992, and my daughter was born in September 1992. And then when I got out, a year later, my son, Trayvon, was born. My current wife has been married over 4 years now, and I have 2 beautiful stepchildren, and I have 2 beautiful biological children. I have a 24-year-old daughter, be 25 in September, and I have a 15-year-old son who will be 16 in July. My daughter just turned 18, and my son will be 10 in August. So I've been blessed. You know, the Lord has been showering me with wonderful people around me. He just keep wonderful people around me. Blessed to have just people that support me all around me, all of my friends. My wife once told me, she said, I never met anybody with so many best friends. No, I want to live life to the fullest. I want to live full and die empty, because I'm going to empty out all God has put in me. I'm going to empty it, and I'm going to give it to people, and I'm going to give it to society.